Okay, so I'm back with another War of Rights map briefing. This one's going to be Roulette Lane. I'm a big Roulette Lane enjoyer. I enjoy it both as Union and as CSA. It happens to be a CSA attacking map. It's also one of the fairly common War of Rights skirmish maps where the defenders have an artillery advantage, and unlike some of the other Union maps where allegedly the Union defending have an artillery advantage, on Roulette Lane it actually is an artillery advantage. So without any further stem winding, let's go ahead and hop in and see how the CSA might go about attacking this. The point of contention, we'll cover it later where it actually is, but it's pretty much in the middle of the road, not far from a cabin. But we're coming out of CSA spawn here. I would say the most common push I see nowadays, this is true and organized in pub play, for the CSA is to come around the hill here. Yes. You can actually, I think, hear the bees. I'm not sure if we're going to hear them in spectator cam, but yeah, there actually are bees that hang out around there. Anyways, you come back down this side of things, you come through here, and then you push. When you build up behind the barn, you're going to push either left and then right, or you're going to come right and then you're going to kind of break off and angle it a bit to the left. So why did you take the circuitous route? Isn't the fastest way, right, a straight line? Well, it is, but the Union have a 6-gun battery in a very nice position here. And so if you're not using those hills and those buildings and any sort of cover and concealment you can get, you're getting obliterated. So you're doing that. Maybe you've gotten partially obliterated. You're using your flags, right? Because attackers always got to have their flags. I would say the defenders should have them on here as well, particularly in the high population count servers. People are going to be dying. You want to be spawning them in. You don't want them to have to spawn way off and maybe get killed by CSA detachments of skirmishers or something like that. But you can go right side of the barn as the CSA, and your goal is usually to hop over this fence at some point and fight the folks here, or to kill the folks who are on the stone wall. And if they're on the stone wall, if the Union's on the stone wall kind of facing the orchard, it can be an awkward angle to defend as the Union, because if you turn oblique right, pretty soon the person in front of you is obscuring you, and then the CSA can fight you one at a time, and that's really not what the defenders want to be doing. I would say probably more common than that is to swing wide out here. It's going to get you away from a lot more Union artillery, and you're using the hill to obscure you from a lot of the angles that the Union will have shooting at you from the fence. So you're going to come up here. You're flirting with the map boundary edge. Yeah, it's not even to that tree. It's right where we are now. You can keep your flags back, and because the CSA has 42s on this, if you can organize it really well and you have a 42 with buck and ball, try to be at the back of the charge. Right? If somebody's got to die, let it be the person with, I think it's the 53, and they've already shot their shot. And so make it up on the back end with that buck and ball. And then try to punch through here. The CSA has a choice. They can then try to work their way down their fence. It probably depends on whether they have friendlies down there who are beleaguered and need help. Or the CSA will go ticket hunting through the Union artillery, because a lot of artillery guys are working groups of 2 or 3 and they're moving around. They're going to be out of line. They're going to be in skirmishing. They're not particularly good at melee, and so that might be an appetizing ticket target for the CSA. But they have options once they get here. On this map, the CSA can come all the way through the Union artillery. There is no hiding, and they can get to a point where they're looking. That is Union spawn down there. That is also the Sunken or the Bloody Lane. Right off in the distance, we have Piper Farm. That's the burning Muma Farm. Lots of other stuff. So you may recognize this area from other skirmish maps. But that's the left side push. I think it's the most tried and tested. There's variation where you go around the left side and then you come up this stone wall. I don't know. I feel like every time I come around and I hug the barn, artillery obliterates me somewhere around here as the CSA. Maybe it's just my luck, but it seems like the safer route is this route far left. All right, back to CSA spawn here. And by the way, you can inhabit that farmhouse. You can also inhabit the barn that's there. You can open the doors. You can shoot out of them. The Union can get into that barn as well. I don't I don't recall. I don't recall ever seeing them. I'm not even sure that the Union can get in there, but the Union can come pretty far forward on this map, perhaps further forward than many folks recognize. As a general rule, unless you are in final push or your officer tells you otherwise, you shouldn't be running through this orchard very much. Maybe the fence, but generally behind the building if you can't spawn on flag. All right, the right side push is viable. It uses the corn to try to conceal the movement. There are kind of two exit points. The first is this snake fence that goes right down to the cabin. That's cap cabin right there. The other is to continue in the corn way out here. Now, this is about the edge of what the CSA can do, but there they are looking into Union spawn. And the idea here is to use the snake fence, and you probably want to quickly advance down this snake fence if in fact this is anything more than a demonstration. I mean, if you're doing this, if you have a flag back in the corn with a couple of guys to make the Union hold a company or two over here because they think it's going to be a lot, that's clever, but then don't go forward. But you can't dawdle in this fence as much as you might want to shoot it out, because that Union already, having played it, and ask anybody who's played Union already on this, one of the easiest things in this game as an artillerist is to kind of get lined up with that fence. Think about this gun right here. You know the CSA is there. You're going to aim for around the flag because flags always want to be where there are people so they can spawn people in formation. And you're just going to rip shot after shot right into that group. And so you're the attacker. Your tickets are only ever going to go down. So I don't think you want to spend too much time out there. You either got to move it or you will lose it. Yeah, the cabin can be inhabited as well. I don't know, as you know, it's pubs, so people just do their own thing. I feel like once it's been stormed and taken, it doesn't offer too many shots, right? You got 4 windows there, so unless you're really efficient, the Union's not going to put that much fire on you coming down that snake fence. There's a door here. That's one way in. The other door faces the Union stone wall, so you might want to think about that one if you haven't cleared the stone wall. I find that frequently the CSA, if they take this cabin, sometimes they'll have skirmishers go upstairs and try to plink the arty guys who aren't skirmishing or out of line. That is what it is. But the right side push here, yeah, after this you can get the cabin. By the way, Union artillery can still bloody you in and around the cabin, so it's not great if you're just standing out here. You're still likely to get blasted. Generally, if the Union's on the stone wall, you don't want to be the CSA with a fence because walls are better than fences. Though at this range, who knows really what's giving anybody cover. If you see it, you can probably shoot it and kill it. You might be all right. So those are the basic CSA attacks. Okay, just so you do know, there is a very slight defilade here as the CSA, and so if you're in it and you're not worried about artillery hitting you, perhaps because the Union is in the fence and they're not sure that they can just sneak it over their friendlies, if you get low as a group and try to get healthy here, there is a chance to rush up on the Union. I don't think it's a great idea, but if all else fails, that is an avenue that's open to you. All right, for the Union, I think on maps where the server pop is close to its cap, so these days it's close to 300, I think the more people that are in the server, the more advantageous it is to the Union, as long as not too many people go and join the artillery. Okay. Union really need infantry on this. They can win this map far easier with no artillery than they can with a big battery and small lines. Because the CSA has 42s and they can make the CSA pay on the way in, but then the CSA try to get theirs on the kind of throwback. The Union got to have guys in the line that are keeping people in formation. If you have a battery, you probably don't need more than 2 or 3 guns that are really working, and throw everyone else in the line. On this one, the arty officer doesn't really need to spot for any of the arty guys, and so that 6-shooter should be devoted to helping the infantry knock down these charges. And the Union doesn't have far they have to defend. If you got 4 companies to start, you could have 2 kind of in the midway of the snake fence, 2 over there in the stone wall, and then you rotate as necessary. You want to be shooting when the CSA is moving. You don't want to have to be moving when the CSA is moving. It's always better to be shooting than moving. And before the CSA get here and they start unloading at close range, you want to have knocked down as many as possible. And at that point, if you do really well, you might just want to countercharge them. and wipe them out before they have a chance to unload on you, and then reset and do it all again. Play this in pub, play this in organized play. It is sometimes an absolute cakewalk slam dunk as the CSA. Other times I've played really good Union defense on here, and it is absolutely the worst, and the CSA is down in morale stage for most of the map, and they're usually trying to cap point with the Union, with the Union and breaking in the CSA and final push. So it really does depend. Again, the defenders will probably be their own worst enemies if they're dying out of line and skirmishing. That's going to be the big help to the attackers. A final note about this one is that if the CSA have a good early push and they're able to rout off a lot of the artillery and they're able to then secure this corner, and those two things are kind of self-reinforcing, right? It's hard to secure that corner without going after the artillery, because the artillery, particularly on the Union left side, has really easy angles into that corner. But if you secure that corner, you can make it virtually impossible for the Union to come back, because look what the Union has to come through. Right? You either got to come down an open road, you got to come down the inside of the wall, and it's very easy to shoot you while the CSA has soft cover. So it's not crazy for the CSA to early cap this. They're not trying to play cap, recap. They're trying to play early cap and win. And what you'll see them do then is they'll garrison this fence. They'll garrison this side of the stone wall. They'll have a group up in artillery trying to keep the artillery off of it. They may or may not have people in the cabin, and then they just dare the Union to come back and knock them down. The Union can do it if they coordinate their actions and get one big push. And in fact, if the Union has fallen behind in tickets, this might be one of the ways back into it. But this is something you need to watch out for in pub play. I won't say in particular, but it's probably one of the more viable maps where the attackers can early cap and then potentially hold it against the defender counterattack. So see if that happens to you, and good luck. Anyways, this has been Roulette Lane. I enjoyed this one on both sides, won and lost it many times on both sides. And if you had no idea how to approach this map, I hope this gives you a little bit better idea.